What's up, everyone? And today I am bringing a deck profile on a deck that most people have probably forgotten about because I haven't heard this deck even mentioned once in over a year. And that is Dream Mirrors. Now, Dream Mirrors is a very interesting deck that basically, like, the theme of the deck is to swap between light and dark. Like, in the mirrors that most of them hold, they have like the opposite version of themselves in the mirror, which is pretty cool. The deck itself is not too bad, but definitely wanted to give it an update with some new stuff to it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, I run 3 Trader. Trader is basically your key card in this deck. Even though it's not the first card, like it's most recent support of it, it's the best card. Because when this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can add a copy of Disciple to your hand, which I also run 3 of as well. And Trader allows you to tribute 1 monster control, to special summon, or to choose 1 monster in your deck, then add 1 field spell whose name is listed on that card, and then special summon the selected monster. So, like, say for example, Trader, I choose the Disciple. Since Dream Mirror of Joy is mentioned in its text, I can add the Dream Mirror of Joy to my hand, then special the Disciple to the field. And Disciple, if you control if a Dream Mirror monster is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And depending on if either Dream Mirror of Joy or Dream Mirror of Terror is on the field, you can get a different effect. And this is only if it's special summon after the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, which most oftentimes that will be what happens because you special summon it off its own effect. So, but if you have a Dream Mirror of Joy, you return 1 spell trap your opponent controls to the hand. And if you control Dream Mirror of Terror, you can draw 1 card and then shuffle 1 card from your hand into your deck. Now, these can be used in succession, not together, so it's not an either or. You can use both if you happen to have both, or if both are on the field, which isn't very likely to come up. We do have a card that can do that. With the Hypnagogia, you can put 1 of your field spells in your zone and 1 in your opponent's field zone, so it's possible to activate, but usually you're going to be activating 1 of their effects. Also run 3 copies of Sprite. Sprite is definitely one of the good cards along with the Trader. Very important. Basically, whenever Sprite is summoned off of the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you can add a Dream Mirror card from your deck to your hand. And if Dream Mirror of Terror is in the field zone, quick effect, you contribute it to special summon Mara from your deck, which we run 2 copies of. And Mara, the second effect is the same as Sprite, just for the opposite field spell. So if Dream Mirror of Joy is in the field spell zone, you can contribute it to special summon the Sprite. Now, if Mara is special summon off the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you can special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your hand. And that's it for the Dream Mirror monsters. Most builds have you run the White Knight and Black Knight, and I had them in the deck too, but I cut them out because I really didn't even use them that much. Like, very rarely, almost never summon them. So I'm just like, they're not really doing anything, so I just took them out and basically bumped the ratios of some of the other Dream Mirror cards so we can see them more often. I do run a Merluson Steam-Ground Engine. Considering field spells are very important in this deck, and depending on what monsters you have, Dream Mirror of Joy might be better, or Dream Mirror of Terror might be better. So having access to both is pretty good. It also allows us to get an additional negate onto the field. So most of the times, I say in a very basic hand state, I'll have both the Trader and Sprite on the field, and then the Synchro, which I can then use to go into a level 7 Synchro. And then I can go into the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon or another level 8 Synchro. And that's it for the monsters. For spells, obviously run the 3 Dream Mirror of Joy and the 3 Dream Mirror of Terror. This is how this deck functions, by basically going into these, and then depending on where they have Joy or Terror onto the field, is depending on which monster's effects you'll get. So it can be kind of finicky in a way, but it's definitely very essential to have at least 1 of these in your opening hand or a way to get to it. Thankfully, with the Trader, that definitely helps in getting you access to it. And they also have additional effects on the field. So first off, during the end phase, you can banish this card to activate the opposite field spell from your hand or deck. And then Dream Mirror of Terror, each time your opponent special summon a monster, inflict 300 damage to your opponent, and Joy gives protection. So each has their pros and cons, but really depending on how you use it and which monsters you pair with them. Of course, you gotta have everyone terraforming. I run 3 copies of Dreamware Phantasms. It's basically your Rhoda for the deck, more or less. Search a Dreamware monster, so that's definitely really good. Dreamware Chaos, I run 3 copies of. The fusion is very important in this deck because the fusion is actually pretty good. It's got a negate on it. And my plays I usually make, or as I mentioned before with the Synchron plays, they really play into this very well. Because for Chaos, if you have Dreamware Terror on the field, you can banish cards from your graveyard for the fusion materials as well. And if it's Joy, you can use from your hand. So we definitely want the Terror on the field when we're using the Dreamware of Chaos to banish what you use for the Synchro materials. Now for some consistency, I run the 3 Pot Prosperity. Also run 3 copies of Tuning for Synchron. And the 1/1-for-1 since Sprite's a level 1, as well as Mara is also a level 1, so it gives you access to that right away. Moving on to the traps, I run 3 copies of Imperm, as well as 2 copies of Oneiromancy, however that's pronounced. I have no idea how that's pronounced. But this card's pretty good, depending on which of the field spells you have, which is most of the cards in this deck. If you have a Dreamware of Joy in the field zone, you can negate the activation of a spell or trap card. And if you have Terror, you can negate the special summon of a monster. And it's a counter trap, so it can't really be countered that easily. Also run the 1 Hypnagogia. So you can choose the Dreamware of Joy and Dreamware of Terror. Place 1 in your field zone and 1 in your opponent's field zone. So it's like a terraforming, but it gets both onto the field, so you can use the full effect of the Disciple. Moving on to the extra deck. I run 3 Tormentor. If Terror is on the field, and your opponent will activate a monster effect, you can negate it. And if Joy is in the field spell zone, quick effect, you can tribute this card. Special summon 1 Earthling from your deck, or from your extra deck in the defense position. So this is definitely really good. This is the main monster you're going to go into. Basically, you got a negate, and it can tag out for your copy of Earthling, which I don't think you're likely going to go into as much, because it doesn't really do a whole lot in comparison to Tormentor. Earthling, if another monster you control is treated, you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it, and if this card its owner possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Tormentor from your, or you can special summon 1 Dreamware monster from your graveyard, except Earthling, so you can summon the Tormentor that you attributed for it. Moving on to Synchros, obviously the before mentioned Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is also good for going into time, because when you destroy a field spell, you can get 1,000, you can destroy 2 potentially if you use Hypnagogia. Also run the Clearwing Synchro Dragon. I run this just in case Ancient Fairy Dragon really isn't going to be all that helpful that way. I potentially have an Ancient Fairy Dragon later on, because sometimes I can't use Ancient Fairy Dragon. Like if I don't have a field spell, I can't really use the full effect of it. I also run the 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and the 1 Warlord Savage Dragon. I run 1 copy of Cross Sheep, because you use in this deck, 2 Dark, and the 1 Lina. I do run Link Revo because we do have level 1s. Hypermask Grano, and basically standard extra deck, Unicorn, Apollousa, and Access Code. Apollousa you're not likely to go into, but you don't really have a whole lot of other options because your Synchros and Fusions are going to be your main plays. What do you think of Dreamwares? Think it's a pretty cool deck? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.